Eric loved TBS, and there was really nothing that he wouldn't do. If he knew that we needed him, he was here for us.
He really helped teach me what it means to be a rabbi. His generosity, his kindness, his thoughtfulness, just the way in which he interacted with people.
A friend, a teddy bear, a brightness in this place.
In the course of your life, you meet a succession of people who change your life in some meaningful way. They alter your life's course. And Eric is one of those people for me.
It's really difficult to separate a relationship with him as a colleague versus a personal relationship, because every relationship he had, whether it was with a congregant in the community or with the staff, really started off as a personal relationship. He took the time to really get to know us as people.
He would just walk into my office sometimes and close the door and slowly sit down and say, "Are you?" And we'd really get into, life. We'd really talk about things, and I felt he truly wanted to know.
There were times Eric and I laughed together, there's times we cried together. He was many, many things to many people. He was a mentor. I think he looked at the staff kind of as his maybe adopted children, and that's how he kind of dealt with us.
He was the president when I first came here. He made sure that the transition was a smooth one. He was supportive every step of the way. He continued to be supportive when he left that role as president of the congregation.
Eric, of course, gave so much to the community as the president, as a lay leader, as a professional, but all of it really came straight from his heart. For me personally, all the hours that we sat together in his office, all the things I heard him celebrate over the years, all the comments he made in tour discussions, all of those pieces are all pieces of me now.
He was actively involved in the move of TBS from Haddon Heights to this location.
We often commented to each other that the building project was, beyond family and marriage, the most important project that he and I have ever been worked on.
He was incredibly proud of what had been accomplished here. He was very proud of his service. Being the executive director here was his dream job.
Eric had a gift of always seeing big picture. What's important? What really is important? It's not, how much are we spending $50 on the pens or $500 on the pens? He was able to kind of step back and say, this is what really matters.
As we all know now, he and Carolyn made a very generous gift that allowed us to open our daycare, which has really been transformative in terms of who we are and what we're able to do as a synagogue and how we're able to bring in the next generation of leaders and members into our congregation.
What shape is that?
A star.
A star. That's a Jewish star.
What Eric did, to help create the daycare was amazing. But what he did in terms of guiding us and helping us shape the room, shape the policies, the mindset of how to approach this, that was equally, if not more, valuable.
Following the opening of the program, he was involved as we grew, as we needed to make changes, as we needed to expand, and was an active part of the Early Childhood Center, very visible as well, walking down the hallways, smiling at the babies that were coming in and greeting new parents and families.
And to be able to see Eric's name up there and to think about that and hear the phone ring 300 times a day and hear Eric B. Jacobs Early Childhood Education Center, it's going to be something that's very special. And that'll be a constant reminder of his legacy and what he's added to our community.
His favorite song, all year, his favorite prayer would be Ma Tovu. There's a version of Ma Tovu that I brought to the choir when I first started, when I was a student here. ever since we did it, it's going to be 9 years ago, it was always his favorite. And he'd always give me a big smile. I'd always look over at his seat over on the far side and get the nod. And I sang it at his funeral. And that was the hardest singing I think I've ever done, hardest prayer I've ever led.
There's so much that I miss about him. I mostly miss being able to go and seek out his advice.
You miss the friendship. You miss the closeness that you had. It leaves a hole in your life.
You could knock on his door, which was always wide open, and behind it you'd find a big smile. And you could go in and he would have all the time in the world to talk with anyone who needed his advice.
I love the guy, and you know, I miss his humor. I miss his wisdom, his knowledge.
Everything that he brought to the table as a professional we'll miss, but I think what I'll miss most of all is his humor.
All of the, you know, wonderful things that were said about Eric over the years and said at his funeral was kind of surprising to me. I mean, I'm not sure that I recognized the love that this community had for him.
I walk through the building and I still expect to see him coming around a corner. I expect to see him walk through the door into my office and sit down and for us to have a conversation. He's not gone, and for me never will be.